Hey Stillwater, welcome to the Still Connect podcast, a podcast all about Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'm your host, Denver Evans, a born and raised Stillwater local and owner of Stillwater Digital Marketing. Every Wednesday, I share a friendly chat with someone in our community that's helping make Stillwater such a great place. Whether you're a longtime resident or just a visitor, this is your place to plug in, stay inspired, and still connect with the stories that shape our community. And if you ever want to watch these interviews, you can check them out on YouTube. And I want to give a shout out to our newest subscriber, Will Joyce. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm really excited about today's episode. I'm here with Layton Johns with the Bookend Hotel. How are you?
Glad to be here, Denver. Thanks for having me.
So for people who maybe haven't heard of the Bookend Hotel or structure and story, give us kind of an overview of what you have going on.
Yeah, we have a huge project here. We are restoring and doing an adaptive reuse project in Stillwater's original public library building that was built in 1938. And it's going to be called the Bookend Hotel, and we are documenting everything on our YouTube channel, Structure and Story.
Very cool. So Stillwater's original public library, where is it? People have probably driven past it a million times.
Yeah, it's I think one of the only yellow brick buildings in Stillwater, but it's on the corner of Husband and 6th, right across from the county courthouse.
Yep, formerly Ocean Dental.
Yes.
Yep. Very cool. So take us back to the very beginning. How did you get started with this? What was the vision?
Yeah, so I think probably the real crux of it was about 5 years ago. Lauren, my wife, and I were walking down Main Street. We had it was either right before or right after a TCU game that we flew back here to watch. We crushed TCU, so it was a very good weekend.
Nice.
But we were walking down Main Street and just kind of loving the old buildings. And at the time, we were contemplating getting an Airbnb. We eventually did, but the more we thought about it, we thought, well, it'd be really cool if we had like 5 or 6 of these in one building. And that kind of thought just continued to grow and evolve. And eventually, we were like, it'd be neat to create our own hotel brand.
Very cool. And so you started looking for buildings. What did that process look like?
Yeah. So at the time we were living in California, but we knew that we kind of wanted to move back to Oklahoma. I went to school here, loved it. Grew up coming back here every summer. And so we started looking at a lot of the little towns around Stillwater. We looked at, Guthrie has a beautiful old downtown. Looked at some buildings in Perry. It's just a little bit too small of a community, and we just kept getting drawn back into Stillwater and just hoping that we were going to find the right building to purchase here in Stillwater. And around the time that we committed to leave everything behind in California and move back here, we stumbled across the library, and it had been on and off the market for quite some time. And as we kept looking at it, we really just fell in love with it immediately, and we were thinking, there's no way this is going to be available by the time we make the move. And sure enough, we got our house sold, got everybody packed up, moved back here, and lo and behold, the library's still available. And we just kind of felt like God was calling us to go ahead and dive into the deep end.
Very exciting. So how long have you been really working on the project?
Yeah, we closed escrow in June and really got to work heavy about 3 weeks ago.
Very cool. So what are your plans for the space? What's it going to be like?
We are going to create a 15-room hotel. The lobby is going to get opened back up, kind of similar to how the original lobby was. It's going to be very much a big reading lounge. Upstairs, we're going to have 6 rooms on the second floor, along with a reading lounge and a conference room that will be able to allow for public use. The first floor is going to have, I believe, 7 rooms, and then the basement is going to have another 2 rooms, along with a bar and a fairly good-sized event space.
Great. So the event space is going to be downstairs, bars downstairs, a couple rooms downstairs.
Yep.
Very nice. What do you hope comes of the utilization of the space?
Yeah. We think that Stillwater is missing an elevated hotel. We've seen in a lot of college towns, hotel chains like The Graduate have popped up that are kind of serving alumni who are coming back to visit, or parents bringing their kids to school for the first time, or to even check the college out. And so we wanted to create a space like that. We know that the Atherton exists, but that's not quite the on-campus model that we are going after. We kind of want to be separate from the school, but pay homage to this town because this is very much a college town. And so it's our hope that we're going to build a very well-designed hotel that people are going to seek out, that maybe they wouldn't ordinarily stay in, but is very much going to be centered around people that are coming here for something related to the school.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because, like you said, there is the Atherton. It does exist. But that's really, I mean, that's the one. Even though it's not really locally owned, it kind of is the only locally owned and operated hotel in town. Forgive me if I'm missing another small hotel, but the big ones, that you see, it's like I almost said Best Western, Hampton Inn. You see a lot of the big chains.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those big chains are owned by local operators.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Not a name brand. And the other thing too, not that this is bad. Of course they are locally owned and operated, but there is money there that's leaving the community.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. We felt like this was an opportunity for us to create something that was very much just unique, taking our personal styles, the things that we love in design and architecture, and putting them together and not really having to answer to some big corporate entity telling us how we should do it.
Right.
It is a little bit scary though, because I've never operated a hotel, so we have a steep learning curve ahead of us.
Yeah, true. So does everyone who does something new, right?
Yep.
So what is kind of your background in what kind of style are you guys going for with the hotel?
Yeah. Well, my background's in general construction. I came back here to school for accounting and finance and then worked at my family's construction company for several years. A lot of that was commercial, but I didn't really get to work in any what I would call beautifully styled architectural commercial projects. There just really aren't a ton of those, and especially out in California, it's so much younger of a community than like the Midwest or even the East Coast, where you see a lot more historic buildings that could be reused. And so we've always gravitated towards the East Coast. We really love going to Savannah, Georgia for vacation. Beautiful old historic district in that town. And so we've drawn a bunch of our stylings from old Americana themed architecture, Victorian themed, colonial themed. And so taking all those bits and pieces and kind of bringing them together in our own style, but very much historically accurate, period correct architecture is what we gravitate towards.
Very nice. Yeah, I like that concept. So I imagine you all are going to keep this kind of the bones, at least, as original as possible.
Yeah, the shell of the building will barely be touched. The exterior, besides cleaning it and restoring the windows, that's about all that we're doing. We're going to add a sign on the corner of the building, but even it's going to be fairly understated. Inside, you can see the bookshelves in the background.
Yeah.
These are all going to get reused in various other locations in the building. So very grateful that they're in such good shape that they can be reused, but that we're going to be able to keep some of these original elements in the building so we can call back period correct. I know one thing that we've gotten a lot of flack for is we're pulling out the spiral staircase that's in the lobby.
Oh, yeah.
But it is from the 80s. It is not period. If it was like an old wrought iron spiral staircase that had some character to it, we for sure would have found a way to keep it, but it's just not in theme with this building. Yeah,
I mean, the building, how old is the building?
It was commissioned and started construction in 1937, and I believe it was opened in 1938.
Very nice. Yeah, so, I mean, 80s, that's basically half the age of the building itself, so that's fair. So, so it still has stairs, just in another area.
Yeah.
Very nice. So what are your next steps?
Well, we are wrapping up, kind of fine-tuning our room layouts. My wife, Lauren, is wrapping up the design of all the rooms. We're starting to design the bar and the lobby. And so we're finalizing those bits and pieces. I'm hoping that in the next few weeks we can start framing. We're still waiting on getting a permit. So that's going to slow us down a little bit. But we're going to make as much progress as we can in the meantime, with our goal of ideally being open for football season 26.
Awesome. Football 26. Get ready, everyone. Start booking.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, what does kind of the business side of it look like? Like at what point do you kind of introduce these steps of the process? You know, when do you have like a soft opening? Like how early? Not that you all have dates for anything like this, but like kind of for someone who's never done a construction progress like this, like I imagine most of the people listening haven't. What do these phases look like?
Yeah, so we're going to have a fairly long haul getting to a point where we can start decorating the rooms. It's likely going to run all the way through May. If I can get done by the end of May, we'll be on a pretty good pace for our planned opening. It'll take a good 5 to 6 weeks to stage and furnish everything in the building. I know my wife's probably over there in the corner smiling to herself, thinking it's going to take longer than that. So we'll try to give her as much time as possible. In a perfect world, we'll have a couple of soft openings, let a few people stay the first weekend, and then maybe half the hotel fill it, the next weekend.
Yeah.
And then ideally, weekend of the first football game will be either our first or second full weekend of operation.
Exciting. Very exciting. So are you going to have like tours through the place beforehand, anything like that?
Yeah, assuming that we've got it in a safe condition. I know I've had people ask me about that.
Yeah, I mean, like shortly before grand opening.
Yeah, we'll definitely have some kind of grand opening event. I don't know, maybe we can coincide it with the kickoff street party that Iron Monk has every year.
That'd be cool.
That would be a great time to kind of open up the doors. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a haul over the next 10 or 11 months.
Yeah. So at what point do you start booking?
That's a very good question. We've been trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Likely it's when we are very certain of the date that we're going to be open.
Right.
So it likely won't be until April, maybe even May, before we can truly start to book this thing out.
Yeah. You really have to have the whole structure in place.
Yeah.
Beds and things like that are not easy, but they're easier than walls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and we're working with RH Restoration Hardware on the project, and so thankfully they've got a crew that will help us put all that stuff together.
That's good.
But it's still going to be quite a process. Just even before we started demo, navigating this building wasn't the easiest with anything very large, and you can imagine once we start bringing in beds and couches and other pieces of furniture, it's going to take some time to just navigate the halls of this building.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are some tight spots for sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely the old style.
Yes.
So what's been your favorite part of kind of getting to work on this project so far?
I mean, I'm kind of a history nerd, and so I got a great opportunity yesterday. I went to the library. They had the state historian come in and give a talk on the WPA and those projects. I mistakenly understood that this building was a WPA project. Come to find out it was a PWA project.
WPA versus PWA?
Yes, yeah. So slightly different New Deal program that kind of funded a portion of this building. But just learning more about the history of it and the history of Stillwater has been awesome. I think the other piece that for me in kind of my business mindset is figuring out what do we want this hotel to be, because it's not a branded hotel. And so we get to pick and choose what is important. What do we want our patrons to feel? What do we want them to experience? And how does the guest experience flow? A lot of that we're still trying to figure out, but it's kind of neat to not have to conform to things that we don't necessarily love in other hotels that we've stayed at and get to pick and choose our favorite things from different places.
Yeah. It's always cool when you get to make the decisions, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Well, any final thoughts? Any other things you want to share about the building or your process or any of that?
Yeah, I think that for those that are following along, we are documenting this on YouTube, Structure and Story, if you want to check it out. I've really loved the comments that I've gotten from people who are local to this community, things that they remember, things that interest them about this building. It's been just a beautiful thing to get to read all these memories that took place in the 60s and 70s and into the early 80s. I've heard that some of the Girl Scouts had sleepovers in the basement and that there were all these different events that occurred over the years. And so I really want to keep collecting more and more of those stories. So I would just encourage anyone in the community that listens to this that has a story that they want to share it with us. I'll plug the YouTube channel, Structure and Story. Go and put it in the comments of one of the videos what your memory of this hotel is. Because again, we want to document it and potentially showcase whatever we can in this new space that we're creating.
Yeah, absolutely. Plug away. That's what this whole thing's for, right? It's for plugging. So, all right, cool. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Denver.
Thanks for tuning in to Still Connect. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Layton. Be sure to check out Structure and Story and the Bookend Hotel on all their socials, linked in the show notes below. If you believe in building community through these conversations, consider supporting the podcast on Patreon, where, for less than the price of a cup of coffee, you can get early access to episodes, a peek behind the curtain at the podcast making process, and a shout out on an episode. With a higher contribution, you can do things like submit questions for upcoming guests, make special requests for the show, get access to online Q&As, and even be on the podcast for an interview segment. And I want to give some of those people a shout out. Currently, we have one Stillwater patron sponsor, Darren Huddleston. Thank you so much. No matter what your capacity for supporting the podcast is, every little bit helps grow this amazing community. And we all need community. So even when life gets busy, make sure you still connect.